What is going on, guys and girls? This is GhostRobo, and welcome to my top 10 of the first half of 2013. This is a huge year with tons of great games already released, tons of awesome games coming out later this fall, plus 2 brand new consoles. So I figured Game of the Year is going to be so action-packed, so jam-full of goodness. Why not do one for January through June? Hit that like button if you enjoyed the video and think this is a cool idea. Let's get things started off with a couple of runner-ups. There were so many good games, I worried that I would not be able to fill a top 10, and in fact, I had more than 12 games. I had to whittle it down, and I was like, holy crap, you know what? Like, Game of the Year this year is going to be one of the trickiest of all time. So my runner-ups are 2 city games. We have SimCity and LEGO City Undercover, which both get runner-ups honors. They both were fun, but not great. SimCity was really enjoyable the first couple hours, and then a lot of its cracks and flaws began to reveal themselves, and I got bored quite quickly with the limited scope of things you could do within that predefined square/rectangle land plot. I wish they would have allowed you to expand out further and build your city far more huge and epic than just that predefined little itty-bitty land space. LEGO City was a very good game, the only Wii U release so far this year that I've gotten into, and I think they expand upon the LEGO format in a great way, introducing a lot of new gameplay mechanics, plenty of the fun that you're used to, the humor, the suit switching, all that good stuff, in a pretty competent and pretty package. It's a really enjoyable game. It utilizes the touchpad in a couple of interesting ways, and I think it's a solid game. All in all, kids game, adult game, no, it's just a good game. Now on to the real list. Number 10, again, this was so tough. It was so tough to organize these and pick, and I couldn't believe that there were so many good games already in the first 6 months. Number 10, though, is a tie between 2 indie games, The Swapper and State of Decay. These are very different games. The Swapper, a very calm, peaceful puzzler. State of Decay, bonkers, just balls-to-the-wall zombie action. But they each did something very well and nailed it. The Swapper gets this eerie atmosphere on this spaceship and makes you really think, creating puzzles that require you to figure them out as you go along and learn on your own. Like, explore, figure out, discover by yourself. There are no tutorials, no hand-holding. It's a great chance for your mind to just kind of run wild and experience some of the most tricky and satisfying puzzles that I've played in a long time. State of Decay, on the other hand, is a epic downloadable game with such a huge premise, a huge concept, open world, zombie survival with a true emphasis on collecting resources, collecting new community members, and doing your best to brunt force it through the apocalypse. It falters in a lot of ways, technically and sort of systematically, as you progress and play on and realize it's quite repetitive, and there's definitely some chinks in the armor of its whole simulation, but for what it is, for 20 bucks, for what it does, an amazing game that I really enjoyed. Number 9 is Game Dev Tycoon, and I slotted this one decently high because I felt like I got the most into it personally, the most personally invested. When those new games come out and you're waiting for review scores, there is so much like, oh god, what's going to happen? I was so intensely anticipatory of what was going to happen in that game each moment when a game would either go on sale or get reviewed, or how many people would come to see us at their fake version of E3. It's a beautiful simulation game, and I've really gotten into sim games pretty hardcore this year that I hadn't at all in the last couple. So it was fun to really dive into something that was true to my personality and true to my likes and passions, which is video game design and video game reviews and all that fun stuff. So it fit me perfectly like a glove, and I enjoyed that simulation more than any other so far this year. I don't think it's a perfect game. I think, again, it can suffer from some repetitive gameplay, like a lot of these sim games, but Game Dev Tycoon, man, that's a fun one that you have to buy, and it's only like $7 or $8. You can't go wrong. Sub $10 for such a lengthy and fun and creative and kind of just exciting if you're a gamer experience. It's awesome. Number 8 is Rogue Legacy. I don't know if I even want to justify this as an indie game, because to me it's a full-featured game. It combines Castlevania, Mega Man, Dark Souls, a lot of my favorites from the SNES era, plus some modern tweaks that mechanically just drive this one straight to the top of my favorite small downloadable games. It's so good. You delve into this castle, it's randomly generated, all these upgrades, picking your character after each death, a little bit of that roguelike gameplay in there really just drives it home for me, because you're encouraged to try just one more time, and they do such a good job with the progression that every encounter, every time you walk into that castle, you're making progress, you're growing, you're improving, you're getting money to buy new weapons, you're getting money to buy new spells, you're leveling up your character for better stats, and there isn't the sense of, man, I just wasted an hour because I died before the boss. You really feel like, hey, I'm moving forward, I'm approaching my goal of defeating these 4 bosses, or 5 bosses, and each run is exciting in its own way, because it's so randomized with things like obstacles, like platforming challenges, and like enemies in some distinct zones that really vary in difficulty and just variety of colorful enemies. It's so good. The concept of picking your heir after each death and choosing, okay, do I want this daughter or this son to be the person that carries on my rogue legacy into the castle the next time is really cool, especially when they have such fun and quirky little tweaks, such as, you know, maybe they're colorblind, so everything's in black and white. Maybe they are nearsighted, so you can't see. Some stuff is very blurry. Maybe they don't have 3D vision, so the game becomes very 2D and characters turn at a weird rate. Maybe they fart a bunch and can jump super high. Maybe they swear nonstop. Maybe they do one of a million things, but such a cool game. The only one that drives me absolutely insane is when you get the person that's upside down and backwards, because then you're walking backwards upside down, and it seriously made me sick. But the game itself doesn't make me sick. Freaking awesome. Download it now, available on Steam. So good. Number 7 is where we get into some of those tried and true AAA releases, and the first one is Metro Last Light. I adored this game. I didn't like 2033 too much. I thought it was very imbalanced in terms of the shooting and stuff. Wasn't so fun. The atmosphere was really cool, and for me, I need the gameplay to deliver if I'm going to really enjoy a game. And here, the gameplay definitely stepped it up a huge notch. The shooting felt great. The interaction with the environment, with the other characters was really cool, and of course, that storyline and those graphics are just like, so good. I got to play this one on my PC with a new graphics card, and that definitely enhanced the experience for me, because some of those lighting effects, especially when you're in the tunnels, and it's just you and Artyom, and you're trying to stealthily take out some of these foes, just so much fun. It blended stealth and action perfectly, where I didn't feel like I was punished for doing action, and I didn't feel like I was too hampered by doing stealth. I mixed it up at kind of free will. I felt in total control and pretty darn awesome, whether I was quietly going up and taking guys out without making a peep, or just going crazy action with the myriad arsenal of weapons that were in this game. I like the currency system, how you have to buy bullets and buy new weaponry and maybe some filters and some health packs. I thought the city locations were really cool, sort of these breaks, pauses in the action where you go and explore and kind of talk to some of the citizens and figure out, piece together more of the story. The plot itself wasn't the strongest, but I did definitely feel a connection to the character. I was excited and or sad for the ending without giving any spoilers away, and I thought the whole mystical kind of paranormal connection with that world is well developed. Some beautiful environments, great gunplay. It was lacking sort of that like final piece of the puzzle to make it a true amazing game, but I thought that it was very stellar. It's something that I definitely can't wait for the DLC, and I encourage everyone to pick up some point this year. Number 6 is Devil May Cry. This was the first major release of 2013, and such a good one. Ninja Theory took their own take on Dante and the DMC action format, and I thought they did a great job. I love the weapon switching. I love being mid-combo, switching weapons, going from 3-4 different sets of attacks in the same combat was super fun. Switching between guns and axes and swords and scythes and shotguns, just that's a total blast. A great combat system, I thought. I know it wasn't as hardcore, as combo-heavy as past Devil May Cry games have been, but this one hit the sweet spot for me, where I wasn't required to memorize tons of combos. I could kind of go in a little bit button-mashy, a little bit skill-based, and it hit that perfect sweet spot where I felt like I was having fun and doing well and looking cool all the time. I thought that the story was enjoyable. I like the new take on Dante, even though a lot of people somehow say I kind of look like him. I don't really see it so much, but that was a fun point of that series as well, and I thought the visuals were really cool. Not necessarily the prettiest game from a technical standpoint, but they do a lot environmentally and sort of with color and just some crazy environments going into this sort of dream world that they dive into back and forth, the demon realm or whatever it was called, plus an epic twist of an ending, a great final battle. You gotta love it when the boss fight at the very end is so stressful and so intense, and I love one-on-one fights, so without spoiling that one, you have to get to the end of the game. The final boss isn't necessarily the greatest, but the final boss is really cool. DMC is a winner. I'm sure it's available cheap now. You gotta play that one. Number 5 is a game that frankly I thought would be higher, but so much good stuff has come out that it sits right in the middle of the list, and that is Tomb Raider, the reboot this year. New Lara Croft. She's a little bit tougher, a little less, but she still was awesome. The game was freaking fantastic. I loved the combat. I love the arrows. The bow and arrow action in that is probably my favorite of the year. I thought they handled combat really nicely. Guns feel great. Third-person shooters have kind of won me over. Between this game and a couple others coming out later this list, I really have enjoyed seeing the character on screen and feeling more of a connection to their personality rather than just me in the world. It's a fine balance between you in the world and feeling like you're part of the story, and then also really being able to experience a cleverly crafted tale by witnessing the character doing things. I thought there were some definite just weird moments where Lara would get totally battered, bruised, and practically killed, and she'd get up and walk away fine. But I think it's part of the character, part of that story is a little bit over the top. She's a crazy heroine, and they did a nice job, though, with the huge island. I felt like I was in this epic place exploring and having fun taking dudes down. I wish there was a little bit more in terms of discovery. I didn't feel like you were really encouraged and or able to find like crazy set pieces or awesome things on your own. They did do these little tiny like cave temple things that were basically one puzzle and done, and they felt very, very rushed, like they were added in just to please the Tomb Raider fans of the past and not really something that they dived into full force. A lot of people touted this as sort of a female Uncharted, and I think that is a pretty apt example. Graphically, it looked really, really good, and a lot of people touted this as sort of a female version of Uncharted, and I think that's a pretty apt comparison. I like the game almost as much as I've liked recent Uncharted. There isn't as much humor and or charm as Nathan Drake is able to bring along to those adventures, but Tomb Raider was fantastic. The storyline, pretty cool. I was into it till the very end when things got a little bit harebrained. That seemed to be a case of a lot of games so far this year. Like, very cool storyline, then at the end they tried to throw this crazy twist, and it's like, why did you do that? I don't know. But the game was exciting and fun. I'm excited to see if they throw out a sequel, where they go from here with Tomb Raider. If they can mix some of that open world exploration back into the game and still deliver a fun and tight combat control system, plus this new Lara who is a lot more likable, I think, and a lot more like, I feel okay playing as her in the game, and it's not too weird and odd and makes you feel all strange inside. I really like this game quite a bit. Tomb Raider sits in at number 5. My top 4 is a very interesting mix of games. I honestly didn't even expect this 4 to be the 4 that occurred when I started making this list, but lo and behold, I think they are definitely my favorite games of the year so far. Number 4 is Dead Space 3. What a good one. You know, Dead Space 2 was one of my favorite games of the year that released, one of the first full walkthroughs I actually did on my channel. And I didn't have the highest expectations for Dead Space 3. You know, they were kind of making it more mainstream. They threw co-op in, more action-packed, trying to appeal to a broader audience and really the entire gaming spectrum rather than just the horror survival shooter fan. But this one knocked it out of the park for me. I felt like it controlled really, really well. I love the action. I actually appreciated that it wasn't as intensely scary. Definitely some jump scare moments, some great, like, crazy adrenaline rushing instances, but to me, it was a more balanced game in that aspect where I felt okay playing it. I hate the feeling of extreme tension that lasts for hours. I can't do that. I have to take breaks. Dead Space 2, I remember like recording an episode and like walking upstairs and like, holy crap, let me go take a shower. But this one I was able to play in long bursts. I really enjoyed the story. Here's one where, even though it had a crazy twist at the end that I thought was a little bit lame, I liked it. The fiction is so bonkers and out of this world, the whole marker thing and mind control and Isaac and all that. Like, I really didn't mind the fact that it was, there's an ant on my foot and I hate bugs. I really didn't mind the fact that it was a little bit kooky, but it definitely delivered for me. I didn't like the main villain in the game. I thought he looked like somebody out of Tekken or Dead or Alive and didn't fit at all. But Isaac and Carver had a kind of cool connection. Some of the extra stuff they added in, like free roaming in space, a couple of the side quests were really cool. Snow actually turned out to be a fun addition to the game. Some of those blizzards were really intense with the little skeleton guys running at you, so freaky. That game was really, really awesome. I encourage everybody to play it if you haven't. I'm sure it's cheap, just like DMC. One of my favorite series, to be honest, of this generation. Dead Space 1, 2, and 3. Played all of them. They all delivered in their own fashion, and I'm excited to see where they go with that franchise. I've heard they're taking a little bit of a break from it, but I think it could be cool if they dive back in next gen. Bigger power, better visuals, and, of course, more scary necromorphs. Dead Space 3 wins number 4. Number 3 is probably the biggest surprise of the entire list. I would never have expected this game to slot itself so high, even after the first 6 months of the year, and that is Injustice: Gods Among Us. I love this game. One of my favorite fighting games of all time, possibly my favorite fighting game this generation. It strikes the perfect balance between a combo-driven fighter that requires some practice and persistence, and jumping in and just feeling like you can button mash your way to victory with a great set of characters. I'm not the biggest DC fan, but I love so many of the dudes in the game, from Sinestro to Aquaman to Raven to the tried and true Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. There's plenty of good characters, including Harley Quinn, Joker, just so many fun guys, Bane, I could go on and on, Deathstroke, introducing me to a lot of DC heroes and villains that I didn't previously know very well, and now I'm like, dang, I want to play a game just with this guy, or I want to see where they exist in the realm of superheroes. A lot of fun. I like the environmental interaction. I don't use it as much as I thought I would, and I think Some people will find that very imbalanced, the whole that you can like throw things off the wall or you can smash missiles into guys, but I think it adds a fun random sense of kind of difference in the battle. So each battle kind of occurs in this living world as opposed to just, oh, it's a backdrop for you to fight upon and it doesn't really matter. Here it's like, oh, that's the stage where you can throw the chandeliers off the ceiling, or oh, that's the stage where you got the whatever they're called, air canisters that you can slide at your opponent, or oh, that's the stage with the tank that you can activate and it remotely blows up. I think that's a lot of fun. I love the fact that it is a single fight with a double bar. That's perfect for me. I really enjoy just the perfect time of that, right? So you feel like you have enough time to get into the fight, really figure out how the battle is going to go down, and then basically a whole second fight to really just dive in and battle it out. Me and Jake have had so much fun duking it out on YouTube, in our own personal lives, and just it's a blast. I love the DLC editions. I hope they make more. So far we've had Zod, Batgirl, Lobo, and Scorpion. All have been fun in their own rights, and I can't wait to see where they go from here. I hope they do a Season 2 DLC pass, maybe add in Poison Ivy, some more villains that I'm familiar with. That would be a ton of fun, and NetherRealm just... Mortal Kombat 9 was my favorite fighting game of that year. Injustice is definitely my favorite fighting game of this year, and probably the generation, so big props to you guys. Now, my top two won't be the biggest surprise. They're the two games I was most excited for at the start of the year, and the two games that I talk about the most, I gush over the most, I love the most, I tweet about the most. So, it's just what order are they going to fall in? And I'm kind of surprised myself how things have ended up turning out. Number 2 is BioShock Infinite, which I would have said was my game of the year for sure before the year started, after I played it, until I got to my number 1, which I'm sure most of you know what it is. But let's give BioShock Infinite its due rights and due time. That game is incredible. The shooting and stuff, really fun, moment-to-moment gameplay, enjoyable. I love the power-up mechanics in the BioShock series, and I love the story here. I thought that from start to finish, it delivered probably my favorite story in video game history. It kept me engaged, it kept me intrigued. I was confused and curious till the very end. The mystery twist is awesome, and it's the first game that I can genuinely say I spent a good 3 days researching, reading about, deliberating, talking with my brother, recording videos on, and just being completely consumed with, which is so much fun. You know, series like Lost on TV or something like this game, BioShock Infinite, the fact that they just kind of grab onto your mind and just hold it there for so long is really special. And even if the gameplay itself is pretty similar to BioShock 1 and 2, the fact that they even retained many of the UI elements, many of the audio cues from the game, and I think the Elizabeth aspect did not turn out as innovative as they wanted or as I wanted, it still was a cool addition. You felt like you were really helping her. You cared about her. I was sad to see her go and book her go at the end of the game when you're like, no, my characters I love. It felt like a great book where you get attached to the people in the game. You want to be a part of their world. You want to live with them, or you want to get to know them and be friends with them. I don't know. Is that just me? Do I sound creepy here? Anyways, it was a great story. Probably, like I said, the best mystery or sort of sci-fi tale that I've ever experienced in a video game, for sure. It left me speechless, emotional, and very, very excited for what Irrational does next. The only sad part is they're probably not going to make another game for a good 4 or 5 years. Hopefully, though, it'll deliver. BioShock Infinite, fantastic. World-wise, too, Columbia, a very cool place. I didn't think anything could live up to Rapture, but Columbia comes pretty close. The way that they kind of create this world and everything within it is so fun to figure out. The audio logs reveal so much, and just even exploring with your eyes, like, what? Oh, this is this shop, and that kind of tells you a little bit about how they lived in the city, or this is this house, and how they kind of did things on a residential level. One of the best studios at world building and creating fun and fresh, unique takes on typical sci-fi tropes. BioShock Infinite, just 10 out of 10, amazing. And of course, my number 1 game, as I'm sure all of you know by now, is The Last of Us. I could gush about this one for 50 minutes, but I'm going to keep it brief and short. What I think this game does so well is delivers an incredible gameplay experience that directly ties in with the emotional connection you develop with the characters. So when I'm playing as Joel, I want to protect Ellie with all my heart and soul. The clickers are intense, the infected are crazy, the combat is so good, and a new little twist I'm going to add into this video is that I love the multiplayer. I didn't play the multiplayer at all when I recorded my Last of Us review video, but now I've played so much of it, it's probably my favorite multiplayer mode, again, in a number of years. So many great games the first half of 2013. I didn't think that this year was going to be so hot. Because of new consoles, I thought maybe most companies would sort of take it easy, but we've had amazing, revolutionary experiences, I'm willing to say. And Last of Us multiplayer is one that so well connects single player to multiplayer and delivers that same feel, that same vibe, that same pace, which I think is so difficult to achieve, especially since most multiplayer shooters are so fast and in your face and quick deaths. This one, you're patient, you're calm, it's intense, every moment is crazy, and the crafting thing brought into multiplayer, brilliant decision. The fact that they revealed this multiplayer mode so late in the preview cycle of the game, was awesome, because then it was a big surprise when it came out, big surprise when you got to play it, and we weren't bored of it before we even started. The storyline, you know, very fun. I want to see more from the Last of Us world. You guys know that I adore that game. Ellie is one of my favorite characters of all time. I thought that the game perfectly blended exploration and combat in a very grounded and realistic setting. I don't have enough good things to say about it, except that I'm sad that it's over and I wish I could relive it again for the first time. You ever get like that, where you play a really great game and you wish that you could erase your mind and just do it all over again for the first time, so you had all those same emotions and feelings? That's how I feel about The Last of Us, and that's how I feel about Bioshock Infinite, in fact, as well. If I could make a 1 and a 1A, it would be those two, but I have to choose, and Last of Us takes the top spot, the golden, platinum, crystal, amazing winner epic trophy of the first half of 2013. The real question is, how many of these games will last to the top 10 of the full year? I can definitely see a good chunk of them, but we still have things like Watch Dogs, GTA 5, Assassin's Creed 4, Killzone Shadowfall, Dead Rising 3, Pikmin 3, New Super Mario World, 3D World, whatever the game on Wii U is called, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, a bunch of good stuff, Zelda: A Link Between Two Worlds for 3DS, Saints Row 4, the new Batman, the new Splinter Cell. It's gonna be madness. How will I ever make a top 10 list come December of this year? I don't know, but it's going to be fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, definitely thumbs it up with a quick like. It helps out more than you guys know, and I definitely do appreciate it. Let me know your favorite game of the first half of 2013. I'm sure a lot of people are going to pick The Last of Us, but hey, maybe you feel a little bit different than I do. That's okay, and I would love to hear from you. We'll have a discussion in the comments below, and until next time, guys and girls, thanks so much for watching. Drink some hot chocolate. Have a fantastic day. Last of Us wins the first half of 2013. Will it survive to win the full year? Thanks a lot for watching, guys and girls. Again, until next time, we will see you all later.